All right, let's unpack this. Today, we're going deep, deep into the world of police detectives.
Helping you nail that interview.
Yeah. Think of this as our detective training camp, and our intel is coming straight from RoleCatcher.
That's a website packed with career advice for all kinds of law enforcement jobs.
It is. And we're going to be focusing on police detectives. We're going to break down common questions you can expect to hear in that interview. We're going to give you some really expert strategies on how to answer those questions.
Yeah, think of us as like your mentors, those seasoned detectives showing you the ropes.
We are. And we're even going to show you how AI can help you stand out from the crowd. But before we jump into that hot seat, let's get a feel for the job itself, what it actually entails.
Yeah, RoleCatcher, they tell us that being a detective, those responsibilities, they go way beyond just chasing the bad guys.
Right.
There's a lot more to it.
So much more.
It's really about connecting the dots.
Right.
Using everything from old school evidence gathering to some really cutting edge stuff like digital forensics and DNA analysis.
So not exactly like in the movies.
Not quite. Today's detectives, they're tech savvy investigators. They're working in labs, agencies, you name it, even courtrooms.
So diverse, so many different areas. And RoleCatcher also points out, the less glamorous side.
Yeah.
Those long hours, the high pressure situations. You're dealing with potential danger on a regular basis. This is a demanding job.
It is, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about it. Bringing justice to victims, making your community safer. That's some really powerful stuff right there.
That's using your skills and talents for good. But okay, let's talk about how you actually get there, how you become a police detective. RoleCatcher lays out that typical path. You usually start as a uniformed officer, you prove yourself, you gain experience, and then you kind of work your way up.
Exactly. And they also emphasize the importance of continuous learning.
Continuous learning. Always learning, always growing.
Always.
Yeah.
Think certifications. You've got your certified crime scene investigator, certified fraud examiner.
So important.
Yeah, those certifications show that you're committed to professional growth and you're signaling to those hiring managers, hey, I'm serious about this. This is a career for me.
Exactly.
And also, don't underestimate networking. I mean, joining professional organizations, that can open doors to some incredible opportunities and mentorships.
Yeah, it's like you're building your own network of informants, right? You got people who've been there, done that.
Exactly. You got that inside scoop.
Okay, but now let's cut to the chase. Let's talk about the interview itself. What can you expect to be asked in that interview? RoleCatcher has like 9 sample questions that are practically a cheat sheet for what these interviewers are looking for. So we're going to break each one down so you're ready for anything.
Yeah. Think of us as like your interview sparring partners.
We are.
All right, so let's start with a classic, one you're bound to be asked. How did you become interested in becoming a police detective?
Okay. Seems simple enough, but I feel like there's a lot more to it.
Definitely. They're not just looking for a generic answer here. They want to see that genuine passion, that drive, the motivation for this specific role.
They want to see that spark.
Exactly. They want to know, like, why this? Why now?
So how do you hit this one out of the park?
You got to tell a compelling story. Was it a personal experience? Maybe you read a book, or maybe there was a mentor, somebody who really inspired you. Whatever it is, make it personal, make it memorable, something that they're going to walk away thinking, wow, this person really wants this.
And I bet they'll probably have some follow questions too. What kind of things should you be prepared for after giving that story?
Right. So they might ask you to elaborate on certain parts of your story. They want to go deeper. Or, they might ask about challenges you faced along the way, getting to this point in your career. It's their way of, kind of testing your resilience. How bad do you want it?
Right. They want to see that drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to a question that gets, I think, to the core of being a detective.
Okay.
It's, how do you handle high-pressure situations? This feels like make it or break it right here.
Absolutely. They're assessing your ability to stay calm, think clearly, and, most importantly, make those smart decisions when things are getting really intense.
Right, because it's a high-pressure job.
Yeah.
So what's the key to like a really strong answer here?
Don't just say you work well under pressure. Give them a real-life example, something specific, something from your past. Show them how you handled a high-pressure situation. Maybe it was a time you had to make a split-second decision. Maybe you had to de-escalate a tense situation. Whatever it was, give them something concrete that they can really latch onto.
And what about follow-ups for this one? What are some things they might throw your way?
Yeah, so they might dig deeper into that example, asking about the challenges you faced, maybe how you prioritize tasks or how you communicated under all of that stress. They might even ask you, what did you learn from this experience and how did it shape your approach?
Okay, so be prepared to go deep. All right, let's tackle question number 3. It is, how do you prioritize tasks and manage your time effectively? I mean, detectives are juggling multiple cases, deadlines, there's a lot to handle.
Absolutely. It's a lot to juggle. So here's where they're really looking for those organizational superpowers.
Okay, so how do you showcase your organization game here?
Concrete examples. Okay.
Concrete examples, okay.
You want to describe your system for how you prioritize. Do you use a specific method? Is there a tool that you use? Show them how you've successfully applied it in the past. Maybe you managed a really complex project under a tight deadline, or you balanced a lot of different responsibilities without missing a beat.
Right, you want to show them that you're on top of it.
Yeah.
And I can already imagine those follow-up questions brewing for this one. What should you be ready for?
Right. They might hit you with a hypothetical scenario. Let's say we give you 3 new cases and they all have different levels of urgency. How would you decide what to tackle first?
Right.
Or how do you handle interruptions, or what's your approach to delegation?
Yeah.
How do you adjust your plans when things go sideways?
Right, because things happen. Okay, question number 4. It is, how do you handle conflicts with colleagues or superiors? I mean, detectives work so closely with others, conflicts are bound to happen.
They are.
So how do you demonstrate that you're like a master of conflict resolution?
Share a specific example, but choose wisely. You want to focus on a situation where you played a positive role in resolving a conflict. Maybe you used active listening, open communication. Highlight your ability to stay calm, respectful, and focused on finding that solution that works for everybody involved.
And of course, we can't forget those follow-up questions. They always come.
They do. So they might ask about a time when that conflict resolution didn't go so well. What did you learn from that experience? How did you grow? They might ask how you handle those really difficult personalities or how you maintain your professionalism when things get heated.
Right. It's going to get heated sometimes. Okay, question number 5. Here we go. It is, how do you stay up to date with industry developments and changes in the law? I mean, the world of law enforcement is constantly evolving.
It is. And they want to see that you are proactive in keeping your skills and your knowledge sharp and up to date.
Right. So how do you showcase that commitment to staying ahead of the curve?
Be specific. Mention professional journals. Do you go to conferences? What online resources do you use? Maybe you've taken some courses. Are you a member of a professional organization that provides updates on industry trends? Show them that you're actively engaged in learning. That speaks volumes.
It really does. And I bet they will have follow-up questions. What kind of things might they ask you?
They might ask about a recent development in law enforcement that really grabbed your attention. How you applied that new knowledge to your work, or how you stay informed about changes specific to your area of expertise. You could even mention how RoleCatcher's AI helps you stay up to date on the latest trends and skills. It's like having that, digital pulse on the profession.
It really is. It's a great tool. Okay. Question number 6. We're getting into like the nitty-gritty here. It is, how do you handle cases where the evidence is circumstantial?
Ooh, okay.
This feels like the real detective work.
Right. So this is where you want to showcase those analytical skills.
Right.
That ability to connect the dots, even when the evidence isn't clear-cut.
Right.
It's not always straightforward.
It's like solving a puzzle with a lot of missing pieces.
Yeah.
How do you impress them with your expertise?
It's a strong case example. Describe a past investigation where you used circumstantial evidence to solve a problem. And it doesn't even have to be in law enforcement, just something that showcases your thinking. Walk them through your thought process, How did you analyze each piece of evidence and how did you build that convincing narrative?
You're telling the story, follow-up questions, what might they be?
Right. So they might ask about the challenges you faced in that case, maybe how you handled conflicting pieces of evidence, or how you presented your findings in a really clear and persuasive way.
So important.
And you can even use RoleCatcher's AI to practice your responses and make sure you're hitting all those key points that the hiring managers are looking for.
I love that. It's like having a secret weapon. Okay, let's dive into question number 7. This one feels like a real balancing act. It is, how do you balance the need to solve a case quickly with the need to ensure accuracy and thoroughness?
Okay. Yeah, that's a tricky one. They want to see that you understand the importance of efficiency, but also that you're not going to cut corners or compromise the investigation for the sake of speed. You don't want to rush it.
It's a fine line.
Yeah.
So how do you strike that balance?
I think a real-life example is crucial here.
Again,
Again, describe a past case where you face this very dilemma. What steps did you take to maintain that brisk pace without sacrificing accuracy? Did you use a specific system? Did you prioritize tasks strategically? Or did you delegate effectively? Show them how you can do both. Be speedy and thorough.
you're super detective. Follow-up questions, I'm sure they're coming.
Oh, they are. So they might present you with a hypothetical scenario, pushing you to make those really tough choices about resources or priorities. They might ask you about your approach to quality control, ensuring that accuracy, or maybe requesting additional time or resources when you need them.
Yeah, it's okay to ask for help.
It is. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can provide that personalized feedback on your answers.
I love that.
It helps you refine your approach and really highlight those strengths in this particular area.
It's like having a coach in your corner. Okay, we're making great progress, but ready for question number 8.
Bring it on. It's a tough one. It is, how do you approach cases where the victim or witness is uncooperative?
Ooh, that is tough. I mean, victims and witnesses, they can be traumatized, scared,
Right, yeah.
maybe even distrustful of law enforcement.
Right.
So how do you even begin to navigate those sensitivities and still get the information that you need to solve the case?
Well, it all comes down to building trust,
Okay.
building rapport.
So how do you show the interviewers that you can handle this kind of situation?
Share an example
Okay.
where you successfully gained the trust of somebody who was hesitant to cooperate.
Okay.
Did you use active listening, empathy? Did you find common ground? Show them that you can build that relationship and,
Right.
treat people with respect, even when it's really tough.
And I'm sure they're going to have some follow-up questions for this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
They might ask about specific strategies you use to overcome that resistance. How do you handle somebody who's openly hostile?
Oh, yeah.
How do you adapt your communication style to different personalities, different emotional states? This is your chance to show them that you can read people, understand their motivations, and ultimately win them over.
Right. You've got to be a people person to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, you've got to understand psychology.
Okay. On to the last question in this set. It is, how do you handle cases where the suspect is a member of a marginalized community? This one feels sensitive.
It is. It's really crucial to demonstrate fairness and impartiality here. You want to show that you approach every investigation with the same level of professionalism,
Right.
regardless of who that suspect is, what their background is.
Right. Everyone's treated equally under the law.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do you convey that commitment to justice for all?
You can highlight your understanding of the challenges faced by those communities
Okay.
and how you ensure sensitivity in your approach.
Okay.
Emphasize the importance of building trust within those communities, working with local organizations, and making sure that your actions uphold equality and fairness.
And the follow-up questions, what should we expect?
They might ask about your experience working with diverse populations or your understanding of things like implicit bias.
Right.
They might even throw a hypothetical scenario at you, testing your ability to navigate a complex situation
Right.
that involves cultural sensitivities or maybe potential conflicts of interest.
Lots of layers there.
Yeah,
Okay. We have covered a lot of ground,
we have.
really unpacking these 9 key interview questions from RoleCatcher. But remember, this is just the starting point.
It is.
Each department, each role, they're going to have their own set of questions.
They will.
So do your research.
Yes,
Be prepared to adapt.
absolutely.
But now you have this solid framework,
Right.
this detective's mindset,
You got it.
to really help you tackle those questions.
Yeah.
And speaking of having a secret weapon, let's talk about RoleCatcher's AI and how it can really take your interview prep to a whole other level.
It's like having a personalized interview coach, available 24/7.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by how it helps tailor your resume and cover letter. Because, I mean, that's your first impression.
It is so important.
It needs to be strong.
Absolutely. And, RoleCatcher's AI, it's like a detective itself. It analyzes job descriptions for those crucial keywords and skills that those hiring managers, they're looking for. Then it compares them to your resume and your cover letter and shows you where you might be missing the mark.
So it's not just about having the skills.
Right.
It's about presenting them, showcasing them.
Yeah, and showcasing them in a way that really aligns with what that specific department is looking for.
Exactly. It's like you're translating your experience into their language.
Exactly. And
Right
it
on.
really helps you stand out from that stack of applications.
So important. Okay, that's impressive. But what about the actual interview? How can AI help with that?
This is where it gets really cool. RoleCatcher has this AI-powered interview practice tool.
Oh,
You
wow.
record yourself answering those tough questions, the ones we've been discussing,
Right.
and the AI analyzes your responses.
It's like a virtual mock interview
It is.
with an expert right there by your side.
Precisely. It gives you feedback on everything, from your delivery, your clarity, to the content of your answers, how well you're conveying those key detective qualities.
That is so cool. I'm curious, can you give me some like concrete examples of the feedback that it provides?
Yeah, so let's say you're practicing that answer about handling those high-pressure situations.
Okay.
The AI might point out that your example is a bit vague and suggest adding some specific details
Okay.
about the challenges you faced, the actions you took. You know, it's all about making it real, making it believable.
So helpful. It's like having that seasoned detective pointing out those blind spots.
Exactly. Or maybe you're using too many filler words, you know, like, and like
Oh, yeah.
the AI will pick up on that and suggest some techniques for smoother, more confident delivery.
That's great.
It's like having a speech coach built right in.
It is. I love how personalized the feedback is.
Yeah, and it doesn't just focus on those areas for improvement.
Okay.
It also highlights your strengths,
Oh, good.
encouraging you to really leverage what you're already doing well.
That's great for building confidence.
Okay.
Before we jump into our practice round,
Okay.
I want to circle back to some career insights from RoleCatcher
Okay.
that can help us fine-tune our answers even further.
Excellent idea.
Yeah.
You know, remember those certifications we mentioned earlier?
Yes.
RoleCatcher really emphasizes how important that professional development is.
Right.
Throughout your career, interviewers are going to be interested in your commitment to ongoing learning.
So if they ask, how do you stay up to date?
Yeah.
Mention those certifications.
Mention those certifications, absolutely. It shows you're dedicated to staying at the forefront of your field. You can also talk about, specific courses or conferences you've attended.
Shows that initiative.
Exactly.
Okay, RoleCatcher also highlights the importance of networking.
Yes.
Joining professional associations. That can open doors to opportunities to mentorships.
Absolutely. It's all about building those relationships, expanding your network within that law enforcement community.
So if they ask about your career aspirations, like how you see yourself progressing, mentioning those connections could be really strategic.
Absolutely. Shows you're proactive, engaged in the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about showing, not just telling.
I like that. Okay, RoleCatcher's insights into the different stages of a detective's career, those are also incredibly helpful.
They are.
They really break it down, that progression from entry level to senior detective roles,
Right.
highlighting the skills that are needed at each level.
Yeah, understanding that progression can be a game changer for your interview prep.
For sure. Let's say, you're applying for that senior detective position.
Okay.
RoleCatcher highlights, those responsibilities like leading investigations, analyzing crime patterns, coordinating with external agencies.
Right. Use that information to craft really compelling answers.
Yeah.
To questions about, your leadership style, your problem-solving abilities, your experience working with all these different teams.
Yeah, you want to show them that you're ready for that next level.
It's like having a roadmap to success.
It is. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor those answers to the specific requirements of each role. You can even use it to practice answering those tough follow-up questions.
It really is like having a personalized cheat sheet
It is.
for every single stage of this interview process. Okay, before we move on to our rapid fire round,
Okay.
I want to touch on one more resource from RoleCatcher
Okay.
that I think is especially relevant for aspiring detectives.
Okay.
They have a whole section on what they call transferable skills.
Transferable skills.
Transferable skills.
I'm intrigued. What are those?
It's about recognizing that those valuable skills you've developed in other areas of your life,
Oh,
those can actually be applied to law enforcement, even if you don't have direct police experience.
Oh, I see. So, if you've been an investigator in a different field or maybe held leadership roles in, community organizations,
Exactly.
those experiences could actually be really relevant.
They could be RoleCatcher highlights. Things like problem solving, communication, leadership, critical thinking,
All essential.
all those essential skills for a successful detective. And they even give you tips on showcasing those skills on your resume, your cover letter, your interview answers.
That's brilliant. That opens up A whole new world of possibilities for people who might not have considered a career in law enforcement before.
Right. It's like, hey, you have these skills. You might not even realize it,
Exactly.
but they're valuable.
And they're transferable.
And they're transferable. Okay. Now, ready to put all of this knowledge into action.
Let's do it. Let's jump into that rapid fire practice round.
All right, get ready. You're about to step into that real interview room, so this is your final exam.
Think of it like the police academy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to throw some detective scenarios at you, just like those seasoned investigators would.
Yeah, we're not just looking for the right answer here. We want to see you think like a detective, you know?
Showcase your problem-solving skills, attention to detail.
That commitment to justice.
Yeah, are you ready?
Bring it on. Okay, first scenario. You arrive at a crime scene, a seemingly simple burglary, but as you start digging, you notice some things don't quite add up. What's your next move?
This is where those detective instincts really kick in, you know? Do you just brush those inconsistencies off, or do you listen to that little voice telling you something's not right? A good detective knows that even the tiniest detail can crack a case wide open.
So what specific steps would you take to investigate those inconsistencies?
Well, first, I would meticulously document everything, even if it seems insignificant at first. Then I'd go back and re-interview those witnesses, listing for any discrepancies in their stories. And of course, I'd carefully examine that physical evidence, looking for anything that just doesn't fit the initial narrative. You know, it's all about connecting those dots, piecing that puzzle together.
Okay, follow up. You discover a hidden compartment with a stash of cash and a burner phone. How do you proceed?
Ooh, okay. Now the case takes an unexpected turn.
Right.
You're not just dealing with a simple burglary anymore.
It's a whole other ballgame now.
Exactly. There's potentially something much bigger going on here.
So what actions would you take to analyze that new evidence?
First, secure that scene, protect the integrity of that evidence, then call in the forensics team to process that compartment in that phone. And while they're doing their magic, I'd start tracing the phone's activity, you know? Who were they calling? Where were they when they made those calls? That burner phone could have a treasure trove of information on it.
It really could. Okay, let's shift gears. Next scenario. You're assigned to a cold case, a missing persons report from years ago. Where do you even begin?
Wow, cold cases. They're like puzzles, where some of the pieces are missing and the others have faded with time. You know, it's definitely a challenge.
Right.
But it's also an incredible opportunity to maybe bring some closure to a case that's been lingering for far too long.
So what's your strategy for tackling a case that's gone cold?
Well, I would start by immersing myself in those original case files. Every detail, every lead, every dead end, it's all part of the story, you know? Then I try to track down those original witnesses. Their memories might have evolved, or they might be more willing to talk now than they were years ago. And with all the advancements in forensic technology, I'd see if there's any new evidence that could be tested, maybe reanalyzed.
Okay, here's a curveball. You find a witness who claims they saw the missing person, alive and well, just a few months ago. How do you verify their story?
Interesting. This is where that critical thinking is so essential, you know?
Right.
You can't just take their word for it. You have to corroborate that story.
So what steps would you take to either confirm or refute their account?
A thorough interview is key. I would ask for very specific details, looking for inconsistencies, red flags, you know? I'd also consider their motives. Do they have a reason to lie? And then I'd look for any supporting evidence. Financial records, travel logs, maybe social media activity, anything that could back up their claim.
Okay, last scenario. You're interviewing a suspect who is notorious for lying and manipulating. How do you get them to tell the truth?
This is where those interrogation skills come into play, you know? It's a delicate dance, a game of wits. You need to be able to read their body language, listen for those subtle cues, and use your words very carefully.
It's an art.
It is an art.
So what strategies would you use to outsmart a master manipulator?
Well, I might start by surprising them, you know, showing them that I'm already on to their game, and then I'd strategically present evidence, creating the sense of inevitability.
Okay.
And sometimes, you know, appealing to their self-interest can actually work. If they cooperate, maybe there's a way out for them.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that right leverage.
Okay, follow up. The suspect insists they have an alibi, but you have a hunch they're lying. How do you prove it?
Alibis, those are tricky.
They are.
They can be fabricated or manipulated. It's your job to dig beneath the surface, find that truth.
Right. So what specific steps would you take to either verify or debunk their alibi?
I would leave no stone unturned. I'd check surveillance footage, interview potential witnesses, scrutinize their phone records, financial transactions. Any inconsistency, no matter how small, it could be the crack in their story.
Wow, you have really navigated these scenarios with, the precision and the insight of a seasoned detective.
I've tried my best.
You've shown us those qualities that make a great investigator. That attention to detail, that critical thinking, that persistence, and that unwavering commitment to uncovering the truth.
It's all about the truth.
And not only that, you've shown that you're prepared not just for the interview,
Right.
but for the challenges and the rewards
Right.
of a career in law enforcement.
It's an amazing career.
So what does this all mean? It means you are armed with the knowledge, the insights, and the tools to not just survive that police detective interview, but to absolutely knock it out of the park.
You got this.
You do. Remember, preparation is key. Use the insights that we shared, dive deep into RoleCatcher's resources, practice those interview questions, and most importantly, let your passion and your dedication shine through.
That's so important.
And here's a final thought for you as you embark on this really exciting journey. Every case, every investigation, it's an opportunity to make a difference. Embrace the challenge, trust your instincts, and always, always follow the evidence wherever it leads.
Love it.
You got this.